Hello and welcome to another MovieBoozer.com virtual pubcast. I'm your host Ken, and I'm joined by Bill Arsenault,
Hey,
Bill Leon,
My name is Bill Leon, and I am a certified G and a bona fide stud. And you can't teach that.
oh,
And this is Bill Arsenault, and he is a 7-time podcast movie critic. He's the best, and you can't teach that.
No, you can't.
Bada boom, realist critics in the room. How you doing?
Bill, you are the future,
I am the future.
future.
which is a reference to a film we'll be talking about a little later in the recording, Class of 1984,
Yeah.
which is quizzically from 1982. We have quite a few movies to discuss, but we're going to start with the newer ones. Now, Bill Arsenault, you saw Okja.
Yes, I did.
This is a reggae film that the proper pronunciation is Okay, Ja. Okay, Ja.
Okay, Ja. Yeah, $50
tell us about
American. No, $50, no problem. No. I hope I won't get in trouble
Yeah,
for that.
Bill, they will never let you join the bobsled team.
Yeah, I know. That's unfortunate. I loved Cool Runnings though. I did love that.
I'm a big fan.
That's exactly like anytime you meet someone from Jamaica, what you have to do is say, "Oh man, I love Cool Runnings."
Who said? Well, what? Why would you do that? Don't do that.
They'll probably,
You're giving the public false information right now. You should not do that.
Well, it's
they'll
just
probably roll their eyes.
it's like if you meet a German person, the first thing you say to them is Schindler's List was such a good movie.
You know, I was
That's
going to say Rocky
that's
IV,
a
but
bad comparison.
that's Russian people.
Yeah.
If you meet a Russian person, talk about Rocky IV.
Well, yeah, Rocky IV or Rocky IV is good, but then there's always Rambo 3.
That one Bond movie where he teamed up with the Afghani freedom fighters.
Pawn Sacrifice.
Okay, well, yeah, so yeah, it's like if you meet an Irishman, make sure to say that The Quiet Man was such a believable depiction of Irish life.
That Irish guy would know that, especially if you go to like a village. I mean, maybe they have Netflix there or something, but
yeah, everyone spontaneously breaks out into punching competitions and fights over red-haired women.
What is the plot of Okay, Ja?
Yes.
Okay, Ja.
This brings us full circle.
Okja is the latest film from the filmmaker of Snowpiercer, who was I believe it was Bong Joon-ho.
Yep.
I hope to God you're pronouncing that right.
Yeah, I think I am actually. He also directed The Host.
Let me preface it by saying that Bill Arsenault is the guy who taught me how to pronounce Quvenzhané Wallace properly.
And you just pronounce it there.
Yeah, he did it well, actually. He did it okay. I think that's the correct pronunciation, so he did it right.
Mm-hmm.
No, Okja is the latest film from Bong Joon-ho, who, like I said, did Snowpiercer and The Host.
Okay.
This movie got a little bit of a controversy at Cannes this year because when the movie was screening, it opened with the Netflix branding. And everyone in the theater had a problem with that. They were like, "Oh, this isn't a real movie,"
Why? Yeah, that's weird. Because what's that Idris Elba, Beast of No Nation? Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
Didn't people go nuts for that when it screened in the theater?
The problem.
It screened at Cannes, though.
You see the problem.
At the Cannes Film Festival.
Yeah, the pompous Frenchies at the Cannes Film Festival. And that's what I'm going to call them, pompous Frenchies, said, So this movie is never going to debut in movie theaters. It's only getting a theatrical release here at Cannes. And so the moment the Netflix logo came up, they booed it because it was a protest of it not getting a theatrical release. Now, here's
it did get a minor theatrical release here in the States, but only in New York and Los Angeles.
Right. But in France, it did not get one at all. And
I don't feel clever for making this joke, but I'm going to do it anyway. I blow my nose in your general direction, Netflix.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Netflix did okay. In this case, Netflix did a good thing, actually. They got the movie. They're releasing it. So, this is a fine picture. The plot of the movie is basically Tilda Swinton is I believe her name is Lucy Mirando. She runs the Mirando Corporation. And in 2007, she sets forth this competition to create the best super pig, which is a genetically modified pig. And it's bigger than most pigs, and she sends them off to 24 or 26 different farms across the globe. And the best one will be selected to come to New York City and be shown off to the world. And that's where they'll commence the production of the meat. It's this big showdown, but that won't happen for another 10 years because it takes that long for these pigs to develop. Cut to 10 years later, we focus on a pig that is living in a Korean mountain farm with a young little girl and her grandfather. And this pig's name is Okja.
Okay.
And we see through the different interactions that the pig has with this little girl that the pig is very human-like in many respects. The pig can figure out complex problems. Now, the pig can't talk or anything, but the pig Okja can figure things out much more quickly than an average animal would. Certainly cares more for people than an average animal might express, and
people of empathy. Okay.
Yeah, empathy, all that. And so Okja is the one ultimately selected as the top pig out of these 24 or 26 pigs. And the little girl, Okja's best friend, goes on an adventure from Korea to America to track down Okja and bring Okja back. In the way, along the way, she meets up with an animal rights group called the Animal Liberation Front, aka ALF.
Yep.
Led by Paul Dano. And they have their own agenda, but their agenda is ultimately to rescue Okja and bring her back to their own ways of going about it.
Animal Liberation Front's a real organization, by the way.
Yeah. I just thought it was funny they used that name and that it was called ALF, considering that ALF is a manufactured puppet.
Yeah, the ALF are actually
Okja.
They're actually terrorists. So
okay, and Okja is a CGI creation, so I thought that was kind of funny they would do that. But yeah, terrorist organization. Well, I don't know if Bong Joon-ho knew that, or if he did know that, if he was planning on it, because
I'm sure he did, because they're basically animal rights terrorists.
Well, in this movie, the ALF is actually shown as being very nonviolent. That so much so that when they are about to commit a crime, like commandeering a vehicle or something along those lines, they're like, "We don't mean to hurt you. Please pull over the car." It's non-violently. Like, they actually will shout these things out to the driver or to whoever they're about to commit a crime against, and they'll for it too. So I thought that was a funny little touch. And Paul Dano's really, gung-ho and into this. He's very much like by the book. Like, no, we got to follow the rules of the ALF. We can't hurt anyone. We have to have respect for humanity and for animal kind.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like in South Park, the episode where they meet PETA.
Yes.
The PETA episode where they're just very, so much, into animals that they're not animal lovers in this movie to the point where they're going to have sex with them, but like in the South Park episode, but they are pretty hardcore left-wing, freedom fighters, if you will.
Right.
The little girl just wants to bring Okja home. She doesn't want to expose anything. She doesn't want to get involved in what's really going down at the Miranda Corporation. She just wants to bring Okja home and keep her safe.
So let me ask you, Okja. I just want to make sure I understand this. So why did she enter the contest to begin with if she didn't want to give Okja up?
She didn't enter. She was already in the contest. She was just given these pigs were given to farmers across the globe, across the world.
Oh, I see. And
to be raised, and then whoever So it was already a part of the agreement. It wasn't like
okay.
The little girl just didn't know that part of it.
I was mishearing. Gotcha.
Yeah.
It seems to be the impression that Okja was a gift as well.
Yeah, kind of. Oh, by the way, Hawk, you're coming in a little roboty.
So anyway,
no, you're still coming in a little robotic. But anyways, Okja is a great little film. And to say little is kind of not being accurate. This isn't, there's nothing little about this. It's very grand.
Mm-hmm.
Full chase sequence that's reminiscent of like Benny Hill,
mm-hmm.
or I'm trying to think who else, like maybe even like the great silent films
mm-hmm.
that takes place in Seoul, Korea, where the little girl and the ALF and the corporation are just running around in circles trying to get the animal, trying to get Okja.
Uh-huh.
And there's just all these different, like, it's almost like the Blues Brothers. There's just like this song playing in the background, and they're just running, hitting cars and knocking into people and messing up shops and everything. It's really funny and spectacular. The movie is also highly evocative and even provocative. I don't want to spoil too much, but there are a lot of images that stick with you.
Does it have a distinctly anti-meat eater
It's not so much anti-meat eater as it is anti-factory farming.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not saying eat vegetables, but it is saying maybe you should consider where you get your food from.
Right, okay. At any time do they address how tasty Okja is?
Yes, they do. As a matter of fact, Jake Gyllenhaal is in this movie. He plays kind of an animal television host, like a television host who does an animal show. Like, I'm gonna go on a safari, that kind of character.
Oh, great.
He's been picked by the Miranda Corporation to he picks Okja,
mm-hmm.
But part of his job is also to extract samples from Okja. In one particularly violently painful scene where he extracts a piece of her meat, and they give it to a couple of different taste testers. They cook it and everything. And they're like, yeah, this is fantastic, fan-fucking-tastic, So there are many references to how good these pigs taste. And
so without killing Okja, they take meat off of her, and it's like a horribly painful-looking scene.
Yes.
Oh wow, that's. And that's
not the only thing they do to Okja. That's not the only thing they end up doing to Okja. And I'm not going to spoil it, but they do other things. And if I can talk about his performance for a moment, he's doing his best Joker impression.
Oh wow!
In this movie, he's really like chewing the scenery kind of thing. He's not doing it too horribly, but it's very outlandish.
It's weird, yeah.
Performance, but it's okay. In this movie it works well. It works to his character, and it works to how his character fits in with everyone else, and how he's kind of this weird almost like mythological obstacle that has to be dealt with, kind of like the Cyclops in a way,
so
in a weirder way.
Would be a better Joker than Jared Leto.
Jake Gyllenhaal is a better Joker than Jared Leto.
Okay.
Jake Gyllenhaal is a better Jared Leto than Jared Leto.
The Academy Awards 2018 is President Trump presenting Best Foreign Film.
To Jared Leto.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think that Okja has a shoe-in. There's no way. It's incredible.
Hold on, Trump. Here's the thing: you do not give Okja The best foreign film. You give the movie the best foreign film of the year goes to Jared Leto.
Yeah. Jared Leto is the best actor of his generation and of mine.
And he's also the best movie.
He's also
of
a
all
good
time,
personal.
even though he's
a friend and he's a movie in and of itself.
yes.
But yeah, Okja.
Then
Go ahead.
I was going to say that and Danish Girl.
Oh, no, he wasn't in Danish Girl.
I know what.
He wasn't in Danish Girl. That was Eddie Redmayne.
I know.
Eddie Red.
I was trying to come up with Eddie Redmayne's name, and I said Danish Girl because I was trying to think of Eddie Redmayne should be the next Joker.
Eddie Redmayne for Best Picture.
Yeah,
Eddie Redmayne.
Best Picture.
Yeah,
that's true.
Eddie Redmayne.
Jared Leto and Eddie.
Best Picture.
Here's the thing: Jared Leto and Eddie Redmayne. They should have like a knife fight to determine who gets to be Joker in the next film.
Well,
I mean, obviously, Jared Leto would win because Eddie Redmayne does not strike me as someone who could wield a knife. But it'd be worth it to at least see who would win.
You say that like the lead singer of 30 Seconds to Mars is somebody you could see wielding a knife.
Yeah,
here's the thing. I would say he at least has the ability to manipulate a guitar to an extent. So yes, he probably could wield something more fine.
Honestly, I could see him wielding a banana. But I mean,
Patrick Bateman killed him in American Psycho.
Yep.
AIDS killed him in Dallas Buyers Club.
Yep.
And
AIDS killed him.
critical and public opinion is going to kill him in Suicide Squad. So we're done here.
But yeah, okay. So to kind of wrap up my Okja thoughts, this is a great film.
Okay.
I really loved it. It will hit you in all the feels. I mentioned earlier there's a lot of memorable images in this movie. These images draw such clear lines to past events and atrocities that extremely bold that the director chose to do such a thing, to compare modern day capitalism and corporate culture to past horrific events. I don't want to spoil exactly what, but it will. You'll immediately get it. Like, go, oh, that's what they're doing, and it works. It's extremely, like I said, evocative. It's extremely potent, and it's also amazing too because the rendering of Okja, the CGI rendering of Okja, while it's not completely, it is a little cartoony looking. At the same time, it's very well textured. You could almost touch it, and you would actually feel something. Feel skin and maybe even feel its heartbeat and breath and everything. So it's done up really well.
And by that note,
and the winner of Best Foreign Film for 2018 is Eddie Redmayne.
All right,
yes.
Well, okay, you stepped on my joke I was going to make. You were saying,
oh,
okay. Let me go ahead and say what you were saying again, Bill Arsenault, about the feels that it gives.
What?
This movie gives you the feels.
So speaking of a movie that gives you the feels, Transformers.
That was a terrible movie.
See, I had.
So
really
wait a minute. Let me get in before we talk about Transformers. Transformers. Bill A., did you watch Raw this week?
No.
They had Josh Duhamel come on commentary for a match, and he was like, I'm in Transformers the last night in theaters now. Go see it, please. Oh God. Part of this happening is apparently he's in some future WWE Studios film that's going to come out at some point. I don't know, but it's just like he talked about. What's up?
actually. I think Seamus is in the movie. I said Seamus is going to be in that movie.
Okay. I didn't know that. Seamus in his cinematic debut since Ninja Turtles 2.
Yeah.
Not the good Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, but the Out of the Shadows. Josh Duhamel is back in Trans. Was he in the fourth one? Did he appear in the fourth movie?
No, he was in like the first three.
So now I know he was in the first three, but now he's back in the fifth one, and he's again, like when he was on Raw this week, he was just like, Transformers, go see it. Bah, 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 bah. I'm like, and everybody, people, I've seen so many YouTube people that like review Raw and SmackDown, and they're just like, get him out of here. What the fuck was that? That was trash.
So speaking of trash, Trans5
that's
this weekend.
That's a better that's a better segue. Okay.
I saved the segue.
All right, so Transformers 5 is the latest Michael Bay joint.
Mm-hmm.
And
I wish the latest Michael Bay joint. Michael Bay's Transformers came out this weekend.
Fabmers.
What the fuck are you doing?
What's that?
What the fuck am I talking about? Transformers came out this weekend.
Yes, that's what I was just saying.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Let me point out that neither Ken nor I have seen this film, so we just keep constantly derailing.
It's just Bill and Hawk on this one.
So this takes place some years after the fourth one. The events that have happened now have made it so that Cade Yeager, played by Mark Wahlberg, is now at a junkyard in South Dakota where he houses the Transformers.
Does he drink Jaeger?
He's hiding out. Yeah, he's hiding out because he's on the lam.
He's hiding out even though he's got fucking Dinobots in broad daylight eating cars.
Mm-hmm.
They're on a Native American land, actually. They're on a reservation.
Yeah, they are.
Aren't they? Yeah.
Which is, I guess, a little piece of flavor to the movie that they really never expound upon at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, this is written by the guys who wrote the original Iron Man and the guy who wrote Black Hawk Down.
I have not seen that one, but I've seen the original Iron Man a few times.
Well written movies. This one's not.
No.
I mean, it's so exhausting.
Are any of the Transformers films in this franchise well written at this point? Like the first one, you could say it follows a basic structure of movie, but then they just go crazy with it after that.
Well, the second one was being developed right around the time of the writers' strike, so that explains that.
Okay.
Third one was written, I think, by the third one, I can't remember who wrote it. The fourth one was written by the writer they brought in on the second one to save themselves from the writers' strike.
Mm-hmm.
So the first Iron Man movie, Matt Holloway and Art Markham, they collaborated on the first Iron Man movie. They also collaborated on Punisher Warzone.
Mm-hmm. Which people like.
Yep.
Which, well, I would say the screenplay is probably not one of the strengths of the movie. But
I have not watched it. I just have heard a lot of enthusiasm for it in the past few years.
Punisher Warzone is a far better film in every single way than Transformers: The Last Night.
That's true.
So to drive my point, the Transformers, even coming off of a Punisher film, Transformers is still a significant step down.
Yes.
Yes.
Ken,
so
you don't believe me, but you
No, here's the thing: Punisher Warzone had acceptable action sequences and some fun moments, and the screenplay being shitty didn't keep me from enjoying the movie to an extent. And it's not that I don't believe you. I believe you oh so well, because the last Transformers movie was such a garbage fire that I wouldn't watch The Last Night if you paid me $1 million and told me right now that you were going to find like just a train of hot women who all want to sleep with me for the rest of my life.
I don't know about that, but whatever.
That wouldn't make me watch it. In fact, I would not only turn it down, but I would send you out, and you would no longer be my friend.
You are a Buddhist monk, my friend.
You would be right.
If you're not tempted by that kind of physical pleasure.
You would be right to demand that sort of compensation.
Pain?
I would sit through the fucking Transformers movie if I could get laid. Like that's no question.
Well, you say that as
I think that's a good trade-off. Actually, I agree with Bill.
You're saying that as someone who's not seen the film.
Yes, I was going to say that same thing. This is coming from the mouth of pre-Transformers 5 Bill. Post-Transformers 5 Bill would be singing a much different tune, I think, because
I'm thinking of let me think of like some really painful movie experiences I've had in my life. Like, yeah, no, I would. It's a trade-off. I think Bill A is on my side here. It's a trade-off.
You would get out of this movie and be ready to go, and then you'd be like, you know what? I just don't feel like it anymore.
Maybe.
I don't know. I think you can find the feeling. I think you can get back into the movie.
I couldn't.
What you guys don't know, what you guys don't know is the only reason you two haven't become suicidal after watching the film is I actually hired a person to inject you with some happy medicine, And
well, it didn't work.
It's going. Yeah. Well,
like what, heroin?
The mere fact that you guys are right now talking to us tells me that it worked enough. Because
it's because I had to review it, and I can't just not review something when I've been assigned to it.
Yeah. So if you're talking about watching it and then having to write an article, I would still say yes. I would trade that for sex. Yes.
Okay. Well, next time we're switching movies. No, it actually
King of the Yes Ands.
Felix and I are kind of in contention about this. I think that this is the worst one. She still thinks that Age of Extinction was the worst, but I think that Age of Extinction is horrible, and it's way too long. This movie is better in some respects, but worse in others. For starters, the story is much worse because it's just kind of I mentioned this in the review, but this is a film franchise where halfway through it, they decided to start a cinematic universe. So when you have I hesitate to use the word lean in referring to a Michael Bay series, but the story was relatively streamlined throughout movies 1, 2, 3. 4 got a little bulkier with the Decepticon or the Dinobots. And now they're talking about how Transformers have been around since the dawn of time, helping the Knights of the Round Table, fighting in World War II. And there's even a secret society of people throughout history, like Mark Twain and Harriet Tubman.
Harriet Tubman.
Harriet Tubman.
The Witwickens. That's what they're called. The Witwickens.
Oh my God, that name! I heard somebody review it and they said Witwickens, and I just lost it.
That's what the word they use too. But no, these people protecting the secret of the Transformers, even though they've been, tearing apart cities across Earth for the past 4 movies. And yes, like you said, Bill A, these are the long line of Witwickens, and the girl in this movie, Vivian Wembley, which is the most British name ever. She is the last surviving Witwicken, which, of course, in a very throwaway line, they suggest that
Witwicky, Sam Witwicky, played by
that he's dead.
Oh, he's dead. Okay,
well, because he's a Witwicky, and and then they're like, they show a picture at one point. They're like, "Oh, Vivian, by the way, you're the last one ever." So they kind of don't even they say it, but don't even say it.
The picture they show of Shia LaBeouf looks like the Nick Nolte mugshot.
Yeah, it kind of does.
By the way, I just found, as you were talking about most British names, there is a pompous British name generator online.
I think I've seen that, yeah.
So I just clicked it for fun, and the first 2 results that came up were George Bertram Cockwallop, Tobias Herbert Mingeworthy, and I got to say this next one because I like it. Herbert Mervyn Smelly Bottom III.
Okay,
that sounds like a Rick and Morty name.
Yeah, that sounds like a Rick and Morty or a Captain Underpants character.
Edmund Theodosius Knickerknacker. All right.
I was watching Family Guy the other day, and they did
but-
some of those weird British names. There was Vivian Chester Hill. I don't know. I don't remember what they were, but they were like very, very British. But
I'm reminded
case-
of the Monty Python sketch in which the man named Raymond Luxury Yacht insists that his name is spelt that way, but it is pronounced Throat Wobbler Mangrove.
Well, that's
Throat Wobbler.
Throat Wobbler. What's Transformers 5? What else is there to say?
It's
It's terrible.
so kind of
for starters.
Yeah, kind of coming off of the whole building a franchise halfway through the series is there are things that happen in this movie that either have happened before and shouldn't be happening a second time, or have never happened before and feel like just rickety additions that don't work. For example, the Knights of the Round Table thing. I guess Bumblebee can be blown apart and then magically pull himself back together. I don't remember that happening in the last films. Bill, can you confirm or deny that?
Never happened in the other films, but I would suspect that Cade added that feature to him.
Yeah, I guess.
Didn't the last movie have something like nanobot kind of deal, where if you blew it apart, it could still come back together as another robot?
Oh, yeah, that was
it did.
Galvatron, who's made out of Transformium. And at the end of that movie, like Megatron took over Galvatron, and now he's a regular Transformer again.
Transformium. God damn it.
Oh boy.
It's not as bad as Unobtainium.
Unobtainium is great, though.
I don't like anything about Avatar, but that's
At least Unobtainium is like only just a small, briefly referenced thing.
But Unobtainium is a joke, too.
Yeah,
it's an awful name. It is an
It's
awful
actually-
name.
It's a
actually
joke.
Also, there are actual items called Unobtainium. It's a term used to refer specifically to, like, if I'm not mistaken, it's meant to refer specifically to elements that have not yet been discovered, theoretical elements.
I think so. Yeah, my impression was that it's used as a sarcastic remark to something that's not possible to be made.
Right.
That's
If you guys had to give a beer rating to the last night, is that the subtitle?
Yeah.
Yes, the last night.
The Last Night Transformers. What's your beer rating?
Lots.
6-pack.
A lot of beers.
6-pack. Okay.
So many beers.
Complete 6-pack.
all of the beers.
All right.
Actually, I think the review is going to end up being just 5. I don't have the review pulled up right now, but there was like 1 or 2 things we were like, okay, that's kind of cool. Like Anthony Hopkins, he was fun, even though he literally existed to do expository dialogue.
Cogman, the robot.
Cogsworth.
Cogsworth. What?
Was it Cogsworth or Cogman?
It was Cogman.
Cogsworth has Beauty and the Beast.
That's
The
right.
clock.
That's right.
Yeah.
I have a lot of.
Ironically, Cogman is a clockwork robot, so maybe that's a reference to Beauty and the Beast.
Or maybe it
He's
was
also
a Simpsons
literally
reference and it was
C-3PO.
Cogswell. Cogswell's Cog.
Could be, I don't know.
Cogswell
He's
Cogs, yes.
He's pretty much a C-3PO ripoff too. Even down to the design, the eyes, the stomach, it's all C-3PO. Oh, last but not least, Optimus Prime is in the movie for like a grand total of 20 minutes.
20 minutes? I
Like literally, he's
expected
barely
less.
in the movie.
expected less, to be honest
And
with you.
how many times does Optimus Prime say, "I am Optimus Prime"?
Oh man, I don't even know.
5 times or something in
Yeah.
a row. I am Optimus Prime. I am Optimus Prime. I am Optimus Prime.
My girlfriend,
Maybe,
I am
maybe they
Optimus
did that
Prime.
specifically so that they didn't have to. I wonder if they didn't hire back the voice actor, and so they just like took lines from his previous movies and edited them into this.
They took the B-sides and the alternate cuts.
like that episode of South Park where Chef dies.
Yeah. They.
Oh, yeah.
yes.
I want to make
Peter-
love to your children.
To your butthole.
Do your buttholes, children.
And then they did the Darth Chef at the end, and they never followed up on that.
Right. Well,
They weren't
because
going to.
literally, like,
It was a joke.
what was
I
it,
get
like 3 months after that Isaac Hayes died?
That's true.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
I
Pretty
think following
soon,
up
yeah.
on that would have been kind
That is respectful. What's next up on the list of things to talk about?
do we have any closing thoughts on Transformers? Really?
I did have some other things that I wanted to say about it, but I mean, honestly, it's not really.
We've only been
It's-
talking about this for
it's-
about 10 minutes, so you have
Yeah,
something
really,
to add.
so
I talked about most of it.
It's okay. I mean, I was gonna say it's very transgressive, and I was gonna say I've even tried pitching articles to different outlets about how I suspect with this movie Michael Bay might be a secret beatnik, but or a closeted beatnik or something with this movie.
I mean,
I'm not being totally serious, but it is. Okay. I did notice a few aspects in this movie that kind of reminded me of this book I read called Beat Cinema, where it was about underground movies, and it kind of reminded me of that because the Transformers series has been very much post-cinema in terms of how it doesn't care about storytelling and how it's very much just shit happening.
Yeah.
You know, so I kind of felt like, all right, this is like the peak of that, and maybe he is in fact a beat filmmaker after all. My conclusion would be is that I'm not going to give him that credit, but I pitched it. Funny enough, I pitched it to RogerEbert.com, and guess what? They turned it down.
Huh.
Nothing against them. It's just like, of course they would. They're a professional outlet. Why would they publish some crap like this?
That sounds like something that Ebert would write.
This I'm getting a little overly sentimental, but I love that you write stuff like that, and I'll
publish it somewhere. It'll go up somewhere. Maybe even Movie Boozer. I don't know.
Don't let that stuff. Movie Boozer will post it, and that's why I love being a part of Movie Boozer. However, I'm saying I don't want you to be discouraged from writing stuff like that because that's what I love about you.
I'm going to keep writing it. It's fine. That was my only other thought. This is not a good movie. I'm glad it's not doing too well domestically. So, yeah.
Yeah.
What's next? Did we talk about Baby Driver already?
No, not yet. But I think I'm the only one to have seen it. I saw it last night.
I think.
So what we're going to do is a spoiler-free, just basic overview. Did you enjoy Baby Driver?
I loved it. Absolutely loved it. This is again no spoilers, but this is very much like and it's no surprise. It's Edgar Wright, but this is very much like a crime caper musical.
So let me ask you this: I have a friend who I was talking to earlier today, and he said that what he imagines Baby Driver is going to be is, he says the single best part of Shaun of the Dead to him was the scene in which "Don't Stop Me Now" kind of set the tone for that zombie battle sequence, and like everything was in the rhythm of that song. And
I absolutely see what he's saying because
and so what I'm asking is, does the movie have that element where it's like all the songs are just perfectly like synced to the action?
The entire film, almost every movement in this movie is synced to a song, and perfectly. There's just one great moment, sequence in the beginning. It's not a spoiler or anything, but it is a great little moment to watch out for when our main character, Baby, is going to get some coffee, and he goes to the coffee shop, orders his coffee, gets the coffee, and as he's doing it, he's listening to some music on his iPod. And as he's listening to the music, we see graffiti in the background matching the words of the song each shot. And so it's a long take. They had to choreograph it to the point of obsessive compulsion almost, like to get it just right to where, okay, Ansel Elgort is going to walk in front of this piece of graffiti just as this music hits this particular note and hits that particular lyric, and then he's gonna jump up at one point, and he's gonna do this, he's gonna do that, and everything syncs up so perfectly with this. It's really wonderful to see.
I cannot wait to see that.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's got really good car chases. It's got really good tension too. You really do care about what's going on with Baby and his girlfriend and the little romance they have, and his predicament that he's in. What else? This someone online. I originally was giving this a 4 out of 5 star rating, which is still pretty good. It's very good actually, but a 5 out of 5, which anyone who knows me on Letterboxd knows that I give 5-star ratings out like candy at a candy store. You know, I'm just easy like that. I love movies. I'm sorry. I'm not. You know, that's just me. You know, but I felt, you know, in this case, this really was a 5-star rating. But I upped it because on Twitter, Scott Weinberg wrote that this movie was like. Let me pull up the actual quote. I got it right here. This movie is like film noir with a heart of gold.
I saw that. Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, this guy's right. This movie is a lot like film noir. It's got a lot of those moments. It's very, you know, it's a little dark and grimy. Also, you know, fun, and it's got the spirit going on in it. And that really resonated with me. It reminded me a little bit of Drive, the Nicholas Winding. Of course, that movie was about something completely different and was tonally different and everything. Mm-hmm. But it had some similar stylings going on in terms of how it romanticized and kind of dramatized certain aspects of Driver and Baby. You know, how Baby does certain things and how Driver has his own little eccentricities. But yeah, no, Baby Driver is an excellent movie. I don't know if it's Edgar Wright's best film. That's a hard thing to pick, you know, because almost all of his movies have been home runs. You know, even his lesser movies, if you want to say that, are home runs. I don't know.
I would say his you know, the Cornetto trilogy. I would say all 3 of them are home runs to me. Scott Pilgrim to me is hit and miss.
I don't think you like Scott Pilgrim because it's about a different generation. It's about, you know, young people and younger people than us, and you know, millennials. Although I guess technically we're millennials as well.
I went apeshit for Scott Pilgrim, but not just because of the movie. The movie influenced me to read the books and play the video game that they put out on PS3, and like it was, for me and a lot of my friends at the time, it was a phenomenon.
I think Scott Pilgrim for me is a film that works a lot better on its first viewing than it would on subsequent viewings. It's got that wow factor that doesn't really carry over.
Every time I've seen that movie since, it's gotten more problematic.
And I agree with that, and I think that goes just towards the whole story, and I think I have a very dark opinion on Scott Pilgrim now, to where there have been a lot of talks of making sequels to the comics or the movie, and I think they should take it in a darker direction where it's like people all of a sudden click and realize Scott Pilgrim's a douche, and he's causing all of us problems.
Well, that's the main thing of the books.
It was the main thing of the books, but the way the book ends and the way the movie ends, it's sort of like,
you know, there was an alternate ending actually where he ended up with Knives Chow, and
right.
Well, that was created before the final book.
You call it an alternate ending, and I call it the correct ending.
Right, because
you see, Edgar Wright felt that in the end, Knives Chow had evolved further than Scott, and she was actually cooler than Scott. So she really, you know, he doesn't deserve her. You know.
Well, and so instead he gets the manic pixie dream girl.
Well, in a traditional narrative structure, that's how it's supposed to go, and I think that's kind of how he intended to end it there.
And by the way, I haven't even read the Scott Pilgrim books. I'm not saying that he deserved to be with knives because that's how the books went.
The books flesh the whole story out a lot better than the film
does.
does.
It's a lot more detailed.
And I don't.
He basically makes the other girl. I don't even remember her name. Was it like Ramona Flowers or something?
Oh, you.
Yeah.
Did I actually get that right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
you got it right.
Well, anyway, the movie makes her basically a heinous person, a terrible human being who has no redeeming traits. So yeah, let's have the movie end on a positive note of them falling in love. I'm sorry.
I think
but Scott Pilgrim's a douche, so they're good for each other.
Well, I never saw her as being heinous. I just saw her as being complicated. But,
she's got the same. I mean, she's manipulative, and it's got the same problems as any person
there are
that you
layers
date.
to this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
don't know. I would say to other people, rewatch the film at your own risk.
I personally have
rewatch the film at your own risk, but 5 stars.
Wow.
Oh, knock it off, Ken.
Baby Driver's okay.
Baby Driver's great. Baby Driver's a great movie.
I'm just fucking.
I'm not talking about Baby Driver. I was talking about Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, he was joking.
Baby Driver genuinely.
No. I was talking about Scott Pilgrim when I said the watch at your own risk. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Baby Driver is an excellent new film. I have a sneaking suspicion this movie's going to age really well. It's one of those movies where it's like it's a movie that doesn't have to be anything but itself. It doesn't have to have a message. It doesn't really have to have a statement it's making or some grand gesture. It really just needs to be a good story and told in a clever manner, and that's what this is. It's very well done, very entertaining. It's very captivating. It's very fun. It's very good, and I wholeheartely recommend you guys go see it as soon as possible. I know for Ken it's going to take a little longer, but I really want to hear Ken's thoughts on this.
And absolutely, I will be more than happy to give them. All right, now what we're going to do is move on to Hawk. You recently had an opportunity to watch My Neighbor Totoro in theaters.
Yeah, so check it out. Fathom Events is doing studio. Okay, is it Ghibli or Ghibli?
I've heard people pronounce it both ways.
How they pronounced it in the documentary that I saw about it. So,
what's the way they pronounce it in the documentary?
Ghibli.
Okay, so it's called Ghibli Fest, and Fathom Events is bringing a number of Miyazaki films to the giant screen over the course of the summer. So this weekend, it's actually cool. What they're doing is that it's every month they do a new one, but it's only for one Sunday, Monday block. On Sunday, they have 1 or 2 showings of the dubbed version, and on Monday, they have 1 or 2 showings of the subtitled version. So I grew up with the dubbed version. However, I grew up with the 20th Century Fox dub, which is different from the Disney dub that they did in 2003, I think. Do you remember, Ken?
It's also different from the Harriet. It's also different from the Harriet tubs.
Yes. Much different.
You asked me if I've seen Totoro?
No. If you remember at which point the rights went back to Disney and they did their own dub. I think it was 2003.
Oh, yeah, something like that. Actually, here we go. Disney 2005 is when Disney released their own dubs.
Okay, and then I guess it was 2003 when they got the rights.
It says 2005 here. I don't see anything about 2003, but you could be right. I don't know.
I was thinking in 2003 that they got the rights to the films back from Fox, or they got them from Fox, and then 2 years later released all their dubs. And it doesn't really matter.
Okay,
in any case, My Neighbor Totoro, it's a movie that I watched a lot when I was a kid, and I think it's a beautiful film. All 4 of us here have seen this film, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Bill Leon?
Whoa. Okay, no.
No, I haven't either.
What?
So
I have not seen this.
Did I wake you, Bill Leon?
yeah, what the fuck was going on?
Kind of, yeah. Don't. I was.
All right,
Well-
so okay, I've seen My Neighbor Totoro, and Hawk has seen My Neighbor Totoro. So
And the Bills have not.
all right.
So for
No.
the Bills, this is about a pair, two young girls.
Should we be punished? Should we be made to watch this film together?
I mean, if you watch this film, it won't. The mindset you should have is certainly not. We were made to watch it. It is we get to watch this film.
Especially
Yes.
if you're an animation person. I mean,
Yes.
the punishment.
It is a absolutely phenomenal film about these two sisters that move to the countryside in this new big house, and they meet this protector of the forest called Totoro, who can only be seen by children and only when he chooses to reveal himself to them.
That's a little you know.
In my head, as it was coming out, I was like, that's poor phrasing. But not a lot happens in the film. It's just a really, really wonderful little story. It's the animation is beautiful, especially on the giant screen. That was the coolest thing, is seeing this beautiful Miyazaki artwork. There are a lot of interludes which have just a snapshot of the nature around this area, often sort of in a watercolor style or of sorts. And of course, the sound in the theater was great. The theater itself was actually packed. I got there right about when the movie was supposed to start, and I barely found a seat towards the front. There were still seats like here and there, but I didn't want to push my way through an aisle of children to get to the middle seat of the top of the theater. But then a bunch of other, there were still parents and kids coming in 20 minutes after the start time and trying to find a seat. One guy even turned the flashlight on his phone.
Is it Thursday?
Like, come on, dude. But that still did not downplay the great experience of seeing the film. Even having people shuffle around me in the theater and trying to find a seat, I was still completely transfixed on the film because it is such a good film, and it is so cool to see it in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to keep doing this when I can. Next month is Kiki's Delivery Service, which is about a witch. August.
Service.
No, he said cervix.
I said
No,
service.
it's a joke. It's a joke. It's a very tasteless joke that I just made.
August is Castle in the
Yes.
Sky. September is Nausicaa,
Castle
the Valley of the
in the
Wind. Castle in the Sky.
He just keeps making sex jokes. Yeah.
I just want to keep making porno jokes.
That's usually Ken's territory.
Yeah,
Oh.
and I don't. I mean, I usually make them. I don't know. It's just
Have you ever?
not live. Not live when I have time to think about it and actually come up with a funny way of putting it. So,
Oh.
anyway.
And then October and November, respectively, are Spirited Away and Howl's Moving Castle.
Squirted away and Hal's moving asshole.
that was so tasteless. Wrong.
Oh God, that was very
You're going
funny.
to hell for that. Hawk does not find this amusing whatsoever.
I'm still laughing. I'm sorry.
So, Ken, what are your thoughts on My Neighbor Totoro?
So here's the thing. Now Bill Leon's got me looking at the titles of Ghibli films, looking at how I could porn them up.
Okay. Thank you, Billy.
Nobody is gonna top what I just did.
Yeah. So anyway, what did I think of My Neighbor Totoro?
I mean, 'cause you said you had seen it recently.
Yeah, I watched it last year, and then I watched it a couple months ago, and I love the movie. I really do. If I had any criticism, the U.S. dub version versus the subtitle version. The girl voices are, and actually in the subtitle version, this problem's still there. I just don't get the whole like squeaky voice thing that Japanese cartoons tend to have.
You know what's interesting though about this dub, this new Disney US dub, was that they had the sisters played by Dakota and Elle Fanning.
Yeah, which it does, you know, they have good chemistry, you know, on screen and even just voice cast wise, and it works for the most part. But the early part of the movie, before you start seeing more of the more fantastical stuff, kind of drags a little for me.
I don't know. I kind of liked the sense of discovery that the girls have, and it really kind of sets you up to blend the lines of reality and imagination later on in the movie.
To an extent, I'm just going. You know, if I had to think of things that were that specifically, let me put it this way: for My Neighbor Totoro, it's a movie that doesn't really drag me into it until about a half hour in, but after that, it's like hooked, and it really does have this beautiful fantasy atmosphere. The animation style is beautiful. The sequence alone with Totoro at the bus stop.
Yes.
And it's raining is one of the most iconic moments in animated cinema.
Not to mention it's kind of got hits all the points. Like, it's mysterious, it's adorable, and it's extremely funny.
Yes, absolutely. And the mysterious aspect of it is I'm glad you said that, because you are right. It's funny and such, but the thing about Totoro is he's this big, huge, powerful looking animal, and you get the feeling that any time he could do something violent if he wanted to, but he doesn't. He never does, just because he's just a big, lovable thing.
Oh yeah, and then of course this bus stop scene really kind of, you know, at first you're like, wow, maybe, I don't know if he's dangerous or not, but he exudes this sort of childlike demeanor during that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Where, you know, basically, without giving away the whole scene for the Bills, it's raining, and Setsuke gives Totoro one of her umbrellas, and Totoro discovers that if, you know, every few seconds, a couple of heavy drops fall off of a tree and splatter on the umbrella, and he is so delighted by the sound that it makes that he immediately tries to make it come down as much as possible.
Yeah, and so he kind of jumps up and down to create, you know, to shake the earth a little bit, and so the water comes down faster.
And then he just bellows so much that the earth shakes, and then a bus that is also a cat appears.
Yes.
And that's really all I need to say about that.
Yeah, the bus that is also a cat. I've been looking, because I have a nephew who loves buses. He's 2 years old, and he has, like, every other toy he has is a bus for some reason. It's like an obsession of his. And I would love to get him a cat bus toy, but there really isn't any, like, decent. I mean, the only one I could find is like this $60 elaborate model that's more like this isn't something you give a 2-year-old. So
right.
Get
that
on
sounds
that
fucking awesome, though.
Disney, well, it does, but for a 2-year-old, get on at Disney marketing. Come up with like a 6-inch cat bus figure.
Why?
Yeah.
Is he into Magic School Bus?
He's not even. I mean, he barely understands words, and yet he's obsessed with buses. It's something I don't know. And kids don't watch Magic School Bus these days. I don't know what do they watch, like.
No, they watch Paw Patrol.
Yeah, but they watch trash. But also, like, stuff is available on Netflix. Sometimes parents will sit their kids down and be like, "Oh, I remember this. I'm going to expose my kids to this," and they'll do that. But
well, that was one of the coolest things about My Neighbor Totoro, is that the theater was a huge mix of ages and cultures, and that really spoke to the film as kind of the film is kind of a cross-cultural piece, especially in its English dubs, where kids are seeing this for the first time and getting a snapshot of Japanese culture filtered through their American experience. But I think a lot of this audience was parents, like you said, they grew up with the film and brought their kids to see it in the theaters so they could see the movie they grew up with.
Did they like it?
the kids, there were a few kids that seemed restless, but there were other kids where, you know, they laughed at all the right parts. There was a sense of wonder in the theater during some of the more magical parts, and I think for the most part, the kids really enjoyed it.
That's cool. That's
yeah,
awesome.
It was really cool. And most of the kids quieted down by the halfway point. They got really into it. Like, it was a little rowdy for the first, and a lot of parents taking their kids out for a while and then bringing them back in. But altogether, a really great experience. And as far as a Magic School Bus, Bill Leanne, I can tell you conclusively that the audience. No, it's fine. I'm saying the audience. The audience for it now is adults that grew up with it and want to get high and watch it again.
That's true, but I mean, maybe I'm projecting too much of my own nostalgia on it. But I think if I were to sit down with my nieces and show them Magic School Bus, the TV show, they could probably get into it. And then I would be like, oh, there's these PC games that I had when I was a kid, and they'd be like, oh, these are fun to play. That type of stuff.
Well, I'm not criticizing your comments on Magic School Bus. I'm just saying you're absolutely right. That's kids don't watch that anymore. It's the adults that watched it as kids, and now they want to see what it's like on drugs.
I felt that way about Yo Gabba Gabba when it came out.
Yeah. You don't have a show called Yo Gabba Gabba and not have it at least partially engineered to be done under the influence.
I mean, have you seen that There's a Party in My Tummy sketch?
My God.
If they didn't take a copious amount of drugs developing that, then they have some sort of magical creative mind that heretofore has been unseen.
I love Yo Gabba Gabba.
So, speaking of Yo Gabba Gabba, we're going to talk about something completely also random and confusing. Forbidden Zone.
Oh my God. All right.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
I've been watching you guys talk about this movie on the chat, and I'm like, don't even know. Because I can't be looking at my chat all day, so
yes.
You know, I'll be at work and I'll get into my office and I'll just check my phone really quick, and I see that, you know, Ken or Bill is halfway through a long-winded discussion over what's currently happening in Forbidden Zone. I'm like, what the fuck am I reading?
So Forbidden Zone is a film from 1980. It's billed as a musical fantasy comedy. It was directed and produced by Richard Elfman, who, if you don't know, he's actually the brother of Danny Elfman.
Mm-hmm.
And together they were in the band Oingo Boingo together.
Richard Elfman was originally the leader of Oingo Boingo and kind of decided, I want to be a filmmaker, so I'm going to make a movie. And because I am in charge of this band, I'm going to hand it off to my little brother, Danny Elfman, who, as spoilers, you guys know, he's going to become fucking Danny Elfman. He's like...
He's going to start off his career with some amazing film scores, and then by the 2000s, he's going to...
I'm not talking about that. That's a whole other discussion. But the idea of this film is that Oingo Boingo, the band, led by Danny Elfman, was originally, in the early 70s, kind of like this weird performance piece that incorporated music occasionally. Well, not occasionally.
When they were founded, the band was called the Mystic Knights of the Oingo Boingo. Mm-hmm. They didn't shorten it until later, and it was
a group that his brother started, and then eventually, you know, because I think it's important to say Oingo Boingo at this point, some people are aware of them for the wrong reasons, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Just because of those songs, Weird Science and Dead Man's Party.
No. It's not about those songs at all. It's about the song Little Girls and how Little Girls has become a meme with this pedo bear thing.
Oh.
And right. Little Girls is a really good song, but like a lot of people...
You Forbidden Zone, didn't you? I would not put it past them to be creepy people.
I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying I'm pissed off that it's part of this meme thing. Sorry.
Right.
I got off.
Fair enough. Okay. So Forbidden Zone is this movie that was meant to sort of represent what it was like going to see Oingo Boingo perform live when they had their full performance
outfit.
Right, exactly. When they had people come in, and it was sort of a combination between music and like stage segments, and the result is this movie that is sort of like a living cartoon. And in fact, there are some animated segments throughout the film too. The plot of the movie is basically incomprehensible. Leon, do you take a crack at it?
It's incredibly bizarre, and it is incredibly okay. So I actually watched this twice. I watched it both in black and white and in color.
How long is it?
It's
like 75 minutes.
Okay, so feature length, basically.
Yeah, basically, it's not it's not going to hit an hour and a half.
Now, I'm going to recommend that you watch it in black and white because that's the original intended version. Later on, they came back and they colorized it. The intention was actually to colorize it using an old process where they would manually color in every frame. They didn't end up doing that for budget concerns, and my understanding is that they are less satisfied with the color version.
Who? I've heard that. I don't know. I watched both versions, and I feel like the color version kind of pops a little more.
I don't know. In black and white, it's pretty visually crazy.
It is, but again, like you watch it, and you were like, I kind of would like to see this in color. We might disagree on this to no end. So
colorization is a thing. So.
I enjoyed, or rather thought it was interesting to watch these back to back because the colorized version.
The only reason colorization in this case is slightly more acceptable is they were somewhat involved in the process of it, but they were kind of.
Is this currently on Amazon?
Yeah. It's on Amazon in both forms. The black and white version, the original, because the film was shot on black and white film, that is available on Fandor. But if you do not have access to Fandor, if you just have regular Amazon Prime, that the colorized version is available to you.
Now you can also do the 7-day trial for Fandor and see it for anyway.
So is the black and white not on Amazon Basic?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, the colorized version is the only version you can watch on Prime Basic. But again, I would not try to say you shouldn't watch this in that form because I feel like it pops a little more. There's a lot of times where I'm watching the black and white originally filmed version and I'm like, what's going on?
Speaking of which, how fucked up is it that we just were talking about Amazon Prime Basic? You buy Amazon Prime, it's got everything. Optimus Prime, Amazon. And then but if you want black and white Forbidden Zone, you got to fucking buy Fandor too.
Yeah, you have to pay for others. Well, not pay for, but give them your credit card information, which I was not comfortable with doing. So the plot of this film is so crazy. It starts off with this shitty looking. Have you ever seen UHF and they have Uncle Nutsy's Clubhouse and it's like this cardboard house on a set? Yeah. That's how the film starts out. It's this fucking cardboard house on a set. And then this subtitle goes on screen and it's like, there was a pimp who was living in a house and he was a drug dealer too. And he found out that the basement of this house was the entrance to the 6th dimension, which they call the Forbidden Zone. And he got sucked in there and somehow escaped, which we're not going to talk about. And he also left drugs in there. So he left and then he went back and then he got his drugs and then he left and then he got out of the house and then he sold this house to a family called the Hercules. Ken, am I killing this so far?
As best as you can summarize it, I think you're doing a good job.
This is all told through text. You don't see a lot of this happen except for a man in blackface running around.
It's almost as if they shot a bunch of scenes and then afterwards they made these texts, like these text inserts, to try to create a story after the fact.
This film, continue with the story. Let's get over the premise because there are also things that need to be talked about in regards to this. I'm talking. You pick it up. Where's the plot go from here? We've got the pimp. He runs away. He sells the house to the Hercules family. Oh, okay. I will do the work. I will do the work.
You're asking me to pick up the plot? Is that what you're actually saying?
I'm saying, describe to these guys what's going on in the plot of this movie.
I can't because there is none.
Oh boy. All right. Well,
it's a compilation of scenes involving like references to like old cinema and old, like Disney cartoons and racist cartoons
and the Three Stooges
and yeah, well, I mean, old cinema in general, like particularly comedic and serialized cinema. For some reason, there's characters who wear like frog costumes. The really the star of the movie, the person with top billing, is Hervé Villechaize. Because
if you guys don't know who that is, he is the midget from the Fantasy Island with Ricardo Montalban. He would go, blast the plane.
And he's also in The Man with the Golden Gun.
Right.
Yeah, and you know, he's I have to say that Hervé Villechaize does what he was a good actor, and his unique accent certainly makes him uniquely a uniquely strange person. And so yes, he's the perfect fit for playing the king.
I think there's more of a plot here than you're given credit for.
All right, well then finish it up, because I can't for the life of me, after having seen the film,
really
tell you what happens in this movie.
I mean, it's a weird plot, but I think I get it. Like, okay, so
please tell me more, so maybe I'll get it.
There's a sixth dimension, and I can't remember how to pronounce his name, but the little person in this film,
Hervé Villechaize.
King something. I remembered his name, and now I don't remember his name. But he's the king. There's a queen who's this chick who's got this like Bride of Frankenstein look going on, and she is the current queen. And you find out that there were prior queens. And it's like this whole operation, the sixth dimension, is like just female sex slaves that stand around and get humped over the clothes. People don't take off their clothes when they have sex in this. They all they hump each other with their clothes on.
So where does Satan come into the picture then?
I don't know. That is really weird. That's what I don't understand, is because he seems to exist in the same space, and there is a character that outside of the sixth dimension in the real world, Squeeze It. Oh, I gotta explain this too.
Please tell me where.
I gotta explain this too. So there's Squeeze It Henderson, and it's something that I need to talk about here. His twin brother, Renee Henderson, who is like the first transgender person in a movie? Question mark?
Probably. The one thing to remember about this movie is outside of the main build cast, there's a lot of extras. And from what I read, most of the extras were literally like homeless people and day workers that they pulled off the street.
The Wikipedia page says that only one actor actually got paid because the other actors apparently believed in this so much that they put their earnings back into the movie.
Wow.
And it paid off.
And it's... I'm kind of like, I'm not in love with this movie, and I love cult films, but I do sort of see why this should be celebrated.
It's a mindfuck. It's full of sequences that are designed to just make you go, what the hell is happening?
If you are at all a fan of Danny Elfman as both a composer and a rock musician, there are parts of this film where you can see like, oh, there's Oingo Boingo. And then there are parts of this film where there are people going la 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 la, and you're like, oh my God, that's what he does in, like his best work in film composing. It was,
if you're a fan of the 1990s Dilbert cartoon show, the theme from Forbidden Zone was actually remixed into the theme for Dilbert, so that might be interesting.
I never watched that show, but that show came out in like a weird time where a lot of people were doing TV primetime animation.
Yeah, Daniel Stern is Dilbert.
Is that who voiced him on that? Okay.
Yeah.
Is it good? Have you seen like the whole series?
Yeah, it's not bad.
Okay, I'll have to.
Dilbert later turned out to be kind of a sexist monster, but that's.
Oh, okay. I don't know about that.
The cartoon doesn't bear that out, but
Forbidden Zone, it is. It's very hard to describe. It's very hard to nail down and say like a definitive final thought on. But I'm going to give it a shot here. Again, aside from things I've already pointed out, which I feel the need to gloss over just because they are sort of the highlights of the movie. Danny Elfman has a single scene where he plays the devil and he sings a parody song of Minnie the Moocher.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Danny Elfman's score to the film is very interesting. It's if you're not a hardcore fan of his, don't go out of your way to watch the film or listen to the score. But if you are a hardcore fan of his, it is interesting to see like how this was an early work, and it really like there are moments of this film and its score where you're like, oh, that's reminiscent of what he did later.
The music in this, it should be noted, is very new wavy. So if you're a fan of 80s new wave music, then this will definitely touch those soft spots. And it's got some crazy cinematography. The animation is trippy as hell. It's clear they put a lot of work into this. I'm just saying, don't expect it to make sense.
I feel like it makes sense. It just makes sense in a cult film kind of way, like the same.
What makes sense is that they set out to make a bunch of random shit happen and call it a movie, and it's entertaining. But here's the thing, Bill. I asked you several times now to try to summarize this plot, and what did you do? You turned it over to me. And okay. Do you want me to finish? Like, because where did I leave off? Because I can explain this plot. Minutes to finish.
We have a whole other cult movie to talk about.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, you're no better at it than me. It's this movie is insane, and
Leon is no better than Ken Ekman.
You bet.
Listen, I don't know. You've recorded me. You have me on record. I don't understand what you're talking about, court and lawsuits. I don't understand. The point is, my good friend Mark L. Lester, he wrote Commando, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. He directed a film. It was called Class of 1984.
And that's a segue, ladies and gentlemen.
That was a segue.
Well, right, it's a good thing that Mark Lister got the fucking gig.
Oh, the gig joke.
So, Bill Leon, since we've been chatting for the last couple minutes, I think let's give Bill Arsenault the floor. Why don't you describe to us the plot of Class of 1984?
Well, okay. Class of 1984 basically follows this music teacher, this idealistic music teacher, who is hired by this school that's I don't even know if to call it. It's not necessarily inner. Is it inner city? It doesn't feel like it's inner city. It feels like on the inside that it's very punk.
It's supposed
but it's not necessarily school. So he goes to this very troubled high school where, and this is 80s version of troubled. This isn't the 90s. Michelle Pfeiffer teaches the inner city kids how to about history or something. This is
how to walk through the valley with the shadow of death.
Shadow of death. Yeah, it's not that.
The 90s definition of troubled children meant all you needed to do was make a rousing speech and lead everyone in a singing competition of "Lean on Me," and right. That's how you inspire the kids. Versus in 80s high school, it was a much darker vision. You really couldn't.
It was much darker vision. This is a lot like the Warriors in some respects, in that you got a gang of white kids led by Timothy Van Patten, who is not the prototypical gangster when I think of gangsters, you know, or even thugs. Like I know him from Mystery Science Theater 3000's rendition of Master Ninjas 1 and 2.
I need to watch these apparently, because I'm a big fan of this film and his performance in this film.
Okay, but I came into this film with that knowledge of Van Patten, so you know I knew he was a filmmaker and everything, but I also knew him from those movies. And
I mean, does anybody have his IMDb pulled up? Because he has done a lot of stuff in the past 10 to 20 years. Like he's directed.
I have no doubt he's done some good stuff.
Interesting his television direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's crazy to me as somebody that just sort of stumbled upon this film and is kind of enamored with his performance in it, to think like, oh, he went on to have a career.
Right. Oh. So anyway, in this movie, Timothy Van Patten leads a group of thugs, and they basically are like, "Oh, look at this new meat," you know, the music teacher, and they basically fuck with him for the rest of the 90 minutes in gradually horrific ways. Him and Roddy McDowell, who plays another teacher in the school, who kind of become colleague friends. Mm-hmm. They're picked on to varying degrees, and the music teacher is trying to prove that these kids are so troubled they need to be expelled. Mm-hmm. The principal and the cops say there's no proof because no one saw it happen.
Despite the fact that
that's not exactly how criminal investigations work, but in this world,
not just one teacher saw it happen, but multiple people saw it happen, including all credible. But that's not enough because we need some more evidence. How do you get more evidence than that in the 80s? You really could.
You know, this movie's mostly what makes up this movie for me are the moments. You know, the action, the things that happen. It's not necessarily a moment. It's very much a shock movie in a way.
A shock movie, I think you meant.
Yeah, it's a shock movie, but it's also a shock movie, like a shock jock. You know, it's very.
It's meant to. The movie was designed as a piece of scare tactic. You know, to have this dark vision of how teenagers are going. You know, if this continues, then kids are going to be killing people soon. And in reality,
it's got that PSA. It's got that PSA vibe to it. Yeah.
And because of that, and because of how extreme they take it, it just becomes this hilarious joke.
Right, and it's just funny because to me to see Timothy Van Patten acting like this tough brat, genius, criminal thug. I just know him from Master Ninja. So go ahead, Bill.
Can we talk about his genius? Because he is a part of the band class, and I think when it starts out, you're like, why is he even in the band class? Because when the teacher calls attendance, he calls his name. He says,
I'm not here.
Peter Stegman, you know. And he goes and he plays the piano, but first he starts just banging on it. He goes, bum, 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 bum. And then he goes off on this, like, you know, classical piece, and he's just playing piano.
Which apparently Timothy Van Patten did that himself. That was his piece.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He composed it himself, yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love little touches like that. I love that.
Wonderful.
I think this movie to me is just so a perfect B schlock movie. It all works.
Yeah, I agree. It's from beginning to end. I was compelled to continue. It was a fascinating train wreck of a movie.
Now, for me, there are two moments in this movie that really speak to me. One is the sequence with Roddy McDowell. That's his peak, essentially. Well, there's two peaks to Roddy McDowell's character, but the real peak is the one where he holds a class at gunpoint
in the classroom.
In the classroom, and forces them to learn about where he teaches. I think it's history, right?
Mm-hmm. And biology.
I'm sorry. That's right. It's biology. He asks them like, what is an amphibian, and shit like that, and he's like, "You learned, you know something," that kind of shit, and he's like, he's so desperate to prove that he's left an impact on kids that he's holding them at fucking gunpoint, and and it's just so sad, and so they would go to that route, you know. It's a wonderful sequence that I think it probably deserves a. Not that this is a bad movie, but I mean, if this were in like a higher caliber film, we'd be talking about that sequence much more.
I think Roddy McDowall's performance in this is like, I mean, I know, and again, it's not to besmirch or talk bad about the other actors in the film, but Roddy McDowall is one of those guys that just like brings his A game to the most ridiculous shit.
Absolutely. Roddy McDowall's
Shockmo.
We were talking about
Shockmo!
You know what? We were talking about Anthony Hopkins and his work in Transformers. And the fact is there are some actors out there who will do anything for a paycheck, and they will bring their A game to it because it's not about what they're in, it's about the process and what they can bring to it.
It's quality, not quantity.
I want to briefly note that Transformers 5 is the second film in which Anthony Hopkins, to my knowledge, in which Anthony Hopkins has called somebody dude, and I'm starting to wonder if he's just fucking around at this point.
You want to know, dude?
It's like, oh, you want to know about the Transformers, dude?
Well, maybe it's because he's so used to being given these roles, playing these, upper crust, upper class kind of characters that, like, if the paycheck clears and he gets to say dude every once in a while, he's like, I'll do that.
What's weird that becomes a thing. He isn't even saying it sarcastically in that moment. It's not like he's like saying it as a rude awakening to Mark Wahlberg. He just openly calls him dude.
Yeah,
like he's his bro.
Look, yeah, because in Collide he did it sarcastically because he was kind of like bearing down on the character, in his naivete. But right. In this one, it's like you say, he's calling Mark Wahlberg dude.
I think Ben Kingsley got the better role in Collide because Kingsley got to just go total fuck it mode.
Yeah, and that's, that comes around just what I'm getting at is that you get these acclaimed actors who reach a point where they can just do what they want because they've got their fan base, they've done the work that people will say, they've done enough good work that nothing they can possibly do will make people say, well, that ruins that old movie.
He's got his Oscar.
Yeah, he's got his Oscar, and that's all that matters.
There's another sequence in. I'm sorry, I just wanted to bring up. There's another sequence in Class of 1984, but it's more of a bit. It's not really a sequence. It's the piano sequence, but there's this one line of dialogue that Timothy Van Patten says, and he says it in such a way it made us laugh so hard. It's so much throughout the remainder of the film, and even on tonight's Pubcast. That it just became memorable completely. It was a line of dialogue where he says, and I'm not going to say it in the way he says it, but he says, "Did I get the fucking gig?" And the way he said it was, "Did I get the fucking gig?"
Kind of.
It just killed us. I'm doing it more extreme than he did it, but.
Not too much. You're not far off because
not too much. Yeah, this goes into Van Patten's performance.
His whole performance is super over the top, and I that is a great line. But in my opinion, there are other great lines in this film. Like he pulls up Michael J. Fox, who is in this film as a young boy. He's in the school band, and they pull up on him in a car, and he's like, "Hey, Music Man, I'd like to have a little chatty-watty with you."
Yeah. He says it more like chatty-watty. To have a chatty-watty with you. Like Bob Dylan. He says it like it's Bob
ridiculous.
Dylan.
Yeah.
To have a chatty-watty with you. Like
chatty-watty.
I'm supposed to be fucking afraid of you? You know what I mean? Like, what? Well, he's trying. He's really trying to be threatening, and he kind of is in a way. He's very unhinged.
Towards the end of the film, are we going to spoil this?
have to, but if you want to, I think it'd be okay.
Here's my question. I see that Ken is currently muted, but I would want to ask you guys, because Hawk Ripjaw could not be present while we watched it. Would you recommend this film to Hawk Ripjaw?
Yeah, sure.
What does that mean?
You know what I mean? Well, even if only for the sake of discussion, just for the sake of finding his thoughts on it.
Okay.
I'm in love with this movie. This is one of my favorite cult films at the moment. That could change in the coming years or whatever, but like I legit love this movie.
Now, Ken is still muted, so I guess we'll move on to, I'm assuming it's our final film of discussion tonight?
And I'm back, actually, just in time.
Okay.
Ken, would you recommend Class of 1984 to Hawk Ripjaw?
Yes. So you guys, I do apologize, guys. Occasionally, I do have to step out because the facility that I'm currently at, So anyway, with that having been said, so you were continuing the conversation of Class of 1984, I take it. And,
Class of 1984, yeah.
And it sounded like we're wrapping things up, so we're so I don't have any other final.
I want your opinion, though. What do you think Hawk Ripjaw would enjoy about this film? Take away from this film?
He would enjoy the extreme violence, the cheesiness. He would love the ridiculous concept of revenge that every character has in it. This is definitely a made for Hawk Ripjaw schlock.
Well, I'm sold.
Yeah, exactly. I was actually kind of disappointed that you weren't able to join us watching it this past Sunday, because it is like, again, I wanted everyone to see it. It wasn't just, I love this movie.
It's a beautiful thing. So
yep, I'm gonna watch that this week.
Yes, The Ring.
Speaking about
starring Naomi Watts.
The Raid. Speaking of
The Raid.
Okay.
Who said Ring?
Somebody said The Ring.
It sounded like you said Ring, so I made a joke like, "Oh, The Ring." We were talking The Raid, I know. But
so yeah, The Raid, which is a movie from 2011, and this movie. It has the simplest premise, which is a bunch of police are getting ready to raid this apartment complex that's run by these gangbangers, and the goal is what?
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I think Hawk should describe the plot. I think he's more.
No. I want Ken to describe the plot because he saw it. But sorry, you said gang.
Okay.
You said gangbangers, and my mind went in a different direction.
Okay.
This is what cold medicine does to you.
So how much porn I've been watching lately.
You're thinking.
Well,
you're thinking of the
Sorry,
the porn version of this movie.
Yeah. Sorry, no. Like I wasn't even making a joke when you.
If I'm not mistaken, gangbanger is still a phrase that refers to gangster.
Right.
I'm not.
I do know that. It's just like the medicine that I'm on it made my mind was on one track for that word.
Dude,
I do know what you meant.
For the pain in my leg, they got me on Oxy at this point, guys. So if anything, I am the one who should be making excuses for messing things up.
Well, I'm also high, so.
Oh, okay. Well.
Oh, okay. So to clarify about this movie takes place in, what is it, Indonesia?
Yes, it was.
Yes.
The filmmaker is. This is an Indonesian film, and
Gareth Evans.
But yeah, Gareth Evans is actually Welsh, which is weird.
Right. Well.
Yeah, I guess he just likes that culture.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's true. It's technically a film by a Welsh filmmaker, but he's worked in Indonesia, and that's kind of where he makes his films.
Yeah, because before The Raid, there was Merantau, which is also starring this film's main star.
Mm-hmm. And so, as I was saying, a group of and I'm being super reductive here because this is what's great about the simplicity of the plot is it's a group of 20 police officers raiding a building, and everything that could go wrong goes terribly wrong, and that's your movie. And because of sharp dialogue writing, because of very solid cinematography, crack editing. I mean, the editing work, which, by the way, Gareth Evans was co-editor on this, by the way. In fact, it says here that Andy Novianto, who was also credited as an editor, is only credited as VFX editor. So what that tells me is that it tells me that Evans did the majority of the editing himself, and it's kind of shocking just how you know what, I think I had the same problem dealing with the movie Dread, where the plot is such a simple. It's a simple plot told so beautifully that, like, having more to say about it other than it's a fucking great action movie it's tough.
Well, it's tough, but there are some more things to say about it. Like, for example, I've brought this up before with regards to the Raid movies, including, you know, this movie and The Raid 2, is that very much like who we talked about earlier with Baby Driver, Gareth Evans kind of brings a musical aspect to violent action.
Which is really interesting because when you say musical, like, there's a lot of music that drives this film, but depending on which version of the movie you watch, you're going to get a different soundtrack.
Yeah.
For the American release of the film, which
Definitely.
I believe was still subtitled, some guy in Linkin Park wrote the soundtrack. I can't remember what his name is, but that's that really rock percussive soundtrack. And I've heard the original film soundtrack too, but I think that since the one that Ken watched was on Amazon was the fucking stupid subtitle, The Raid Redemption, they changed the music for that one. And what are you guys' thoughts on that title?
It was unnecessary.
I don't understand why adding the word redemption to it makes it any clearer for, like, American audiences.
Right. Not to mention, there's not a whole lot of redemption that happens in this movie.
Yeah, actually, there's
maybe to one particular character, but there's not a lot of redemption for everyone else. Or
actually, quite the opposite. At the end of the movie, the character who you would expect to be redeemed is literally, unabashedly not redeemed.
Yeah, that's right. Well, sort of. He's kind of, but he just goes back to that life anyway.
What he basically says is, I mean, what it came off to me, and I guess it's sort of a spoiler territory, but what it came off to me is, it's not redemption. It's basically him saying, well, I saved your life now because you're my bro, but I'm going back to my life, and you know, we probably shouldn't run into each other again because this could end badly next time.
Yeah, he kind of pats himself on the back for trying and then just leaves.
Yeah.
But
so the redemption thing was very unnecessary. Yeah,
it's stupid. Yeah, like I saw that. It was first brought to my attention by my British friend, and he was like, "Why the hell are you Americans calling this the Raid Redemption?" And I was like, "I don't know, because I've seen the movie and fit at all. I mean, I don't know how it changed the movie if you just still called it The Raid. All I can think of is there was another American film called The Raid that had the rights to that title, and they couldn't do that." But
I don't think there is. I mean,
even if they did, they could pick literally any other word besides redemption, and it would sound cooler.
Ironically, there was a movie in 2015 by Chinese director Sui Hark called The Raid. And that was released in the U.S. as The Raid, by the way.
Oh, you're fucking kidding me.
I am not kidding you.
That's so terrible. There is gonna be an American remake. What?
There's a 1954 movie called The Raid starring Van Heflin.
Yeah, there's no way that was in contention.
Yeah, no.
There's going to be an American remake of The Raid 2 by Joe Carnahan.
Why would you remake a movie that is spectacular and perfect? It's like remaking Old Boy. You're going to make a movie that's basically the same movie shot for shot, and no one cares.
The Spike Lee Old Boy had some differences in terms of not just the story and what happens in it, but also tonally and how it kind of defined certain aspects of the action, but it didn't do it better. It did it pretty much, straight line. Like it wasn't like more artistic or anything.
I did like the use of color in Spike Lee's Old Boy.
Yeah, that was nice.
Other than that, I have.
Yeah, it was.
I don't have any favorable opinions on that film. No, Carnahan apparently
Joe
is going to be kind of
could
changing the fighting style and the action a little bit. It's going to be a lot more brutal and like, I guess, I don't know how he described it, but it's going to be it's not really going to be a martial arts film. And Evans has said, yeah, Gareth Evans has been like, yeah, dude, knock yourself out. That sounds cool. But if I was a director who made an amazing movie for which an American remake would have no chance of ever even touching, I would probably say the same thing. I watch this guy go fuck himself on a stupid remake. It's not going to be very good.
I think Carnahan could probably pull it off, but it won't be brutal. This movie's already pretty fucking brutal.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of machetes, there's gunplay, there's just bone cracking and, you know, brain bashing. There's a lot of stuff happening in this movie. And the sequel almost tops it in a lot of respects.
Yeah.
It's different, but tops it in different ways is what I mean. So it's like doing a remake. Yeah, it is very unnecessary, but at the same time, if a Toxic Avenger remake, like if it helps Trauma, that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, if the paycheck out of it, I think that's fine.
Okay, so I just got some information. I Googled why The Raid has redemption after it. Apparently, they tried for months to get clearance on the title The Raid, and they weren't able to get legal clearance. So some movie out there, there must have been, it may have been that 1950s movie or something. Which is funny because there are totally movies that come out that have like same titles.
But still, I think that the three of us can come up with a couple of better titles in a matter of minutes than the long period of time they're like, redemption.
Right. To me, it looks like it was like a last-minute thing.
Even then,
I'd call it The Raid Tower or something.
Yeah, or The Raid
like,
High Rise.
Or Raiding the
High-rise,
Tower.
yes.
Or
no, that sounds stupid.
Attack the Tower.
Attack the Tower.
Or
it sounds like Attack the Block.
Well, yeah. Attack the Block came out after this, didn't it?
Right.
No. I think Attack the Block was 2010.
20. Oh, they both came out the same year.
Okay.
Yeah. So it would have been too close.
Yeah, but how about? I mean, how about? Well, here, you know what they should have done. What's the standard Hollywood way to title a movie? Just name it after the main character.
Oh,
is that
a good idea?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but that's part of the surprise of the movie is that you don't really think he's going to be the hero because he's the rookie. You're thinking like, oh, he's going to have an integral part, but he's not necessarily going to be, because at first we're focused on the captain, and then slowly as the shit hits the fan, it shifts over to the rookie, and he takes charge,
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I will admit that if they had named the movie Rama, no one would have seen this movie. And yeah, it was because it's a foreign language film. No one saw it anyway because it's America and people don't go to movies.
It had some good midnight showings. I went to a midnight showing of it. So
right. Well, what I'm saying is $1.1 million. I'm sorry, its box office in the U.S. was like it made a couple million, maybe. Let me check. Let me look into that.
Yeah, I didn't get crazy. While you're checking on that,
it made $4 million in the U.S.
No, that's probably in line with what they expected. I mean, what was the international take?
The international take was like 10 million.
And what was the budget?
1.1 million. That was what I was saying. Yeah.
All right, so
and of course, obviously, it was good enough for a sequel. Which
it certainly profited. I'm just saying that a movie like this and with the action that it had, if Americans weren't stupid about subtitles, it could have been like a huge blockbuster.
Well, fuck it, just go the Disney Miyazaki route, the Fox Miyazaki route, and just dub it. Like,
yeah.
Oh, I don't know if I like that.
Well, I don't like it either, but I mean. But I'm speaking as somebody who doesn't have a problem with subtitles. But even if I did have a problem with subtitles, if I cannot watch films with subtitles, and then I saw a film in English with that kind of action, I would say, yes, I want to go see that.
Here's the thing. I'm weird when it comes to subtitles and dubbing in that some movies, first of all, some directors actually prefer the dubbed versions of their films.
Mhm.
In fact, if I'm not mistaken, is it Godard who specifically he personally cast the voices for all of the different languages his films were presented in, and if I'm not mistaken, one of the reasons why he I think it's Godard who shoots a lot of his movies silent, specifically to redub it later, and actually fill in dialogue in ways that, to change lines if he didn't like them in post, basically.
Yeah. Huh.
I could be wrong. It may not be Godard, but I know that there was a director from that French New Wave era who shot most of his movies without sound, specifically to do that.
Okay.
Anyway.
So
Sergio Leone, many of the actors in Sergio Leone films, he redubbed specifically because the accents they were using didn't pass for American.
All right.
That's
kind of cool. That's interesting, though, that some of them have that preference.
Mm-hmm. And actually, it's very common in Italian cinema in those days to shoot silent, so that's also a thing. But
yeah.
Anyway, so back to the raid. One thing that I have to say that as far as I don't know if the soundtrack I heard was the Linkin Park soundtrack, but the music didn't bother me. I think it set the tone for the movie pretty well.
Yeah, no, I think it was that version, and I'll have to admit, when that movie first came out, I was kind of in a phase of, I had exited my Linkin Park. I like Linkin Park. My Hybrid Theory is a good album phase.
I have never in my life liked Linkin Park.
Just one. You never tried too hard. It go but
So
hey, Bill Leon, did he unmute himself?
I tried too hard, and that's just why I wake up in the middle of the night.
Right.
So Bill Leon, there's something you need to look up. Somebody, this is a few years ago, but somebody took the entire Hybrid Theory album and recut every single song as a remix with Gangnam Style. It's really quite astonishing how well it works. It still sounds horrible, but everything fits together in a way that's really unsettling that A, somebody thought of it, and B, made it work.
I should watch this. Okay.
But no, it's the soundtrack for this movie came out when I was kind of in this phase of, you know what? Fuck Linkin Park, because I used to like him and now I don't, and I'm a moody teenager. And when I was watching it again the other night, it's like, it really isn't that bad. It's fine. It really drives the action well. And it just feels like part of the movie. It doesn't feel like it was brought in for a new dub or anything. It's good stuff.
Exactly. No, I really can't think of anything to add to that. So I'm sorry, my train of thought.
That's all right. I wasn't sure if I'd cut out or not. But no, spectacular action flick. The pace of it and the way it all comes together, and the fighting style is all Indonesian Silat as far as I know. But every character has their own kind of spin on the fighting style. It makes it their own, and it's really amazing action. And
the knockdown drag out fights in this are just—it's almost as if someone took the fight from They Live and said, as a template, let's make an entire movie full of nothing but fights like this.
And every fight builds tension incredibly well.
Mm-hmm.
Until even the sound helps with this, is that by the end of the fight, both fighters are bloody and broken and exhausted, and everything has reached such an incredible fever pitch that you're just waiting for this bubble of tension to burst and for somebody to get killed.
Right. And what's fascinating about it, I mean, one of my favorite characters in the film is I forget his name, but he's the guy who he despises guns, so what he lives for is just beating people up.
Mad Dog?
Yeah, I guess that's his name. And so so Mad Dog, his fight scenes are just so brutal because it's just fisticuffs until someone dies.
Yeah.
And holy shit.
And the hallway fight, the fight in the drug room, like everything is just insane.
I once thought the hallway fight in Daredevil was brutal. I no longer think that.
Yes. I think that was part of in the raid, part of that hallway fight is part of what made that template of action sequences be so in vogue. Because, shortly after that, Arrow did a hallway fight, which was actually very good, if not 1/10 of the times as brutal. And then, there's been a hallway fight. Of course, it's a running joke at this point that every Marvel Netflix show has a hallway fight, and so on and so forth.
Of decreasing quality.
Decreasing quality. Hopefully the one in Defenders is good.
I would hope that they, if you've got that many people, then they'd at least expand it from a hallway to maybe a office building.
No, it's still a hallway.
Yeah, hallway in an office building.
It looks like it is in an office building.
Wait, have you seen the Defenders? Am I missing something?
I've seen a trailer.
Oh, so there is a office. Oh, I see. Okay.
There is a hallway fight scene in the Defenders. You see it briefly. They're running away from a possessed reborn Elektra, I think. And they're just fighting guys as they're running down the hallway, which it should be cool because somebody pointed out that totally changed the dynamic of the fight now that they're running away from someone. If that's in fact what's happening.
Yeah, a possessed reborn picture of the least interesting aspect of the second season of Daredevil.
Yeah, I would have been okay if she stayed dead.
Yeah, I would have also been okay if she was never introduced.
I mean, if we want to get started on what we would not like to see in the Marvel Netflix shows, then why don't we just cut the entire first season of Iron Fist and replace his character in the Defenders with, I don't know, who fucking cares?
Yeah, I would say if you're going to, I would say replace Danny Rand with a completely different character, and don't call him Iron Fist, call him like Metal Hand.
Just do the Punisher. Why not that? Just skip the Punisher. Well, don't skip the TV show, but do the Punisher TV show and then just introduce him. Although here's an idea: still have the Punisher, but have John Bernthal play a second role as just the Puncher. And he's got Danny Rand's superpowers and strangely enough, a very similar background, but he's just a completely different character and wholly original in every way, of course. What's the connection between Punisher and Puncher?
It turns out they're one and the same, but that'll be in like season 10.
Oh my god.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
10 seasons of hinting at that?
Remember, this is Marvel. They're going to go on forever.
But I mean, how much would that suck is like, yeah, they're probably the same character and having to wait if you think 13 episodes per season, so you have to wait 130 episodes to figure out if your theory is true. That's worse than Westworld.
Well, that's how you do it, though. You have to save that. What you do is there's little reveals that awe people that you do every few episodes, but then you have these big reveals that everyone totally called like 10 years ago, and that's when you bring out the reveal that's supposed to shock everyone when no one is.
So tell me if this is a big reveal or a little reveal as John Bernthal as the Punisher or the Puncher looking at himself in the mirror after washing his face
and just goes, oh.
Not even that. He just kind of looks at himself, like, I fucking know you. Like,
you're the Puncher.
You're the Puncher. What if he does that? He's talking to his reflection in the mirror. You know how like when like someone jazzes them up for a date, like, yeah, you're gonna get this. You're gonna kill it. You're gonna kill him. But like the metaphor being that he's talking to himself, which is really himself, which is the Puncher, which is him. But why is he hunting him? I'm confused right now. Because now I've suggested that he already knows that he's the Puncher, but does he know? Like, do you have this planned out? Does he know that he's the Puncher and the Punisher?
So he does not know. That's the twist.
So that's what makes it better when he looks at himself in the mirror.
So what you're going to have?
I think that's a good place to end things.
You're going to have a couple of seasons of the show where the Punisher is seeking out his arch nemesis, the Puncher, and the Puncher is seeking out his arch nemesis, the Punisher. And the big twist you're going to get after season 10 is that it's the same guy.
And the best part is neither one of them has amnesia.
Exactly. It's just they managed to exist on the same plane as. So, needless to say, we'll be seeing you next week on our movieboozer.com virtual pubcast. And
you should just cut it right as you were finishing the puncher thing.
I was thinking we should